Now, listeners, we're joined in studio by a number of guests who have concerns and want to raise some issues about the proposed N24 road project. In studio, we have David Maloney. We're also joined by William Slattery and Mary Staunton. They're here just to discuss some of the information that's come to light. They also have a colleague with them here for intended to speak but has a sore throat today, Amanda Wade, who also is just here, also showing some moral support for the group. Good morning, folks, and thanks for coming in to join us today. David, you have a lot of concerns you'd like to raise about the project.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say we all welcome a new road, right? And we know it's advantageous, right, to everyone, right? But what we're doing is we're raising issues we have regarding the safety of the preferred route and implications and the impact it's really going to have on people in the town itself. People in the town think, oh, this is great, it's going to be a bypass, right? And it's not going to impact on us, right? Right, and it will be good for the town, right? But I mean, what they actually have come up with is a bypass, not up the town, only the centre of the town, because it's going to, the route is actually cuts off communities on the urban area of the town, right? And it's going to have serious implications, right, for the town itself. Because if they the big problem is they're actually intend building the new road and the existing Limerick Road, which would mean that they'd have one-way systems and there'd be massive tailbacks into the town and traffic disruption and delays, right? And traffic would be diverted up onto local roads. Even if it's not diverted, I mean, anyone stuck in a traffic jam coming into town or going out of town are going to start using all the back roads. And we know from experience on these back roads, right, they're not designed or made for articulated lorries, right, especially two-way traffic on them. All right, and I mean, a lot of people have actually raised concerns. I mean, because up to last week, right, there was preferred routes to go across country, and everyone would have thought that would make sense, right? But to actually move the road down onto the existing Monard into Tipperary Road, right, will mean something like 100 houses will have to be demolished, right? And people don't realise the new road, there'll be restricted access onto it. It'll be like the Cahir. The N25 that has been built in Cahir and down in Piltown, right? They won't allow access on or off from farms, fields, houses, right? And another big implication for Tipperary Town is, I mean, they intend going through the old dump, which is actually designated as a toxic site. And if they start digging up the old dump, the thousands and thousands of tons of material, right, that will actually release toxic fumes into the atmosphere, and there'll be smells. And another serious aspect is they could end up polluting the water, groundwater, which is actually the source of drinking water for Tipperary Town. I mean, the wells at the moment are down on the Bancher Road. So if you start sucking water out of the underground watercourse, water will start flowing from all over into the wells, right? And it'll come from the works, right, where they're disturbing the old dump. I mean, that will have a serious effect. Another big issue is, I mean, diverting traffic. I mean, traffic will end up going through Rosanna, like before, what happened with Davis Street, right? And it'll impact on 5 different schools. And I mean, that'd be very dangerous for children, right? To have big articulated lorries, right, passing their schools, right? Not only that, then you have the fumes from the lorries, right, which no one wants. Now, we have set up a Facebook page, right? And in the last few days, right, and we have 200 members, and they have actually invited about another 300 to 400 members to join up. So I'd ask anyone just to go onto Facebook and Google new N24 road between Cahir and Pallasgreen monitor group. Now, we had last week, there was a public display out in Ballykistine. And I mean, what was really surprising, right, was it was a case of a one-on-one discussions, right? And they never logged any of the concerns from any of the citizens. All they actually said was they're going to move the road away from all the houses within the land take at the moment, right, the corridor, right, as if you could weave a new road in between houses. I mean, people must realise that the new road will look like something like the what's on the Cahir bypass or down near Waterford. I mean, that's the N24 as well. I mean, it's a major road, you know, and you have to have smooth longitudinal alignments and horizontal alignments on a road All right. So, I mean, the problem with the public display is they haven't highlighted any of the negative aspects of it, right? And then they produce a document, and even the document is misleading. They call it the N24, Cahir to Limerick Junction. It's not Cahir to Limerick Junction, it's Cahir to Pallasgreen. So anyone reading it from Ula or Monard or that side of it, right, would think, oh, that's not going to affect us, right? And where it will, you know. And then on the, it's a flashy document, right? And I spent years on the construction of roads and motorways and bridges, right, in Ireland, England and in the Middle East, right? And I mean, they've lost me with the terms, right? I mean, they're putting in terms and they use language that no one can understand. And on the brochure, they have, the text is so small, I can't read it. And I have prescription glasses, right? I need a magnifying glass to actually read it, you know. And it just seems to be, and there's no substance to it when you look into it, right? It's just empty sort of promises and flashy statements that are in it, right? And technical statements trying to lose people, you know. And I mean, I've set up a group and I invited the liaison officer from the county council, and I invited all the politicians, right, councillors and TDs to join, and none of them have actually joined, right? They're all saying, oh, we'll wait and we'll see. We'll wait and we'll see, you know, all right? You know, which is wrong. I mean, when they come looking for their votes at the next election, they'll be remembered if they don't sort of entertain us and listen to what's been said and do something about it, you know.
Right. So, David, you've set out there a lot of different concerns, and it is true that I think some 17% of the route, they're going to put it on the existing route, yes. And then some, they're going to build new route. And then the problem with the new route is they're taking farmers' land or they're taking people's homes or houses where they're pushing the route. And as you say, they can't weave the road between houses. It takes those big sweeps in road construction. There's a lot still to be clarified on it, and you make some valid points. Totally true what you're saying about the document. The title is Cahir to Limerick Junction, and the road does go out past Brooks Bridge, so that's an extraordinary term to put on the top of the document, because as you say, people might think it's between there and there. And then totally true what you're saying again, the size of the text on the document is really difficult, and there's some information in there that isn't needed. Either should have added extra pages or left out some of the information at the beginning, the background information, and given more focus and clarity to what they wanted to tell people on this occasion. But as you say, you are in favour of the route in general. You make the point about if they're doing the construction works, how much that's going to impact where the traffic goes off the road while the construction work is going on. It would be a temporary measure, though.
Oh, it'll last for about 2 years during construction, right? You know, which is a long time. And we have also, I mean, the big problem, right, and the big issue, right, is there's major health and safety issues with the design. And really, I mean, the council, from speaking to them, right, they seem to try to push the engineers forward to answer the questions. The engineers are only employed, right, to design it. I mean, who is responsible is the client. Like if you were building a house, you were responsible, not the people you designed it. And they're hiding, right, because they won't come forward and identify themselves. Like I basically asked, who made the decision about the preferred route? Oh, it was a steering committee, I was told, made up of a group of people, right? So that's, I mean, you have to have responsibility. They send letters to people telling them that the houses could be demolished. Who signed the letter? No one signed the letter, right? I mean, that's completely wrong in this day and age, you know.
But people knew who the letter was coming from. They knew it was coming from the design team for the project. But I accept your point that it's nice to have a letter signed by a named person that you feel that person is communicating with you. Those people who got the letters were asked to come to the process next week. Some people were relieved, some people were not relieved. I don't have feedback from everybody who was there, but I went out on Tuesday evening. Some people were less concerned after they'd gone into the session. So I think there's more information that really needs to be come out, and I think that's where your group can be very helpful for people.
Yes, and even when I went to the meeting last week, right, because I'm used, I know how they operate and so on, I actually went in with a list of questions, right, because I asked them the basic things, like, what will the road look like? Will it be a dual carriageway? Will it be 2+1? Will it be single carriageway each way? Are there going to be hard shoulders? Is there going to be a cycle track? Are there going to be footpaths, right? You know, and what happens where the new road across as existing roads. Are there going to be roundabouts? Are there going to be bridges, right? And all they could say to me is, we don't know now. We won't know until the final design is done. Now, I mean, to my mind, that is completely wrong, because they must have a preconceived idea of basically what the road is going to look like. I mean, they have experience of other similar roads, national roads, right? So they're going to say it's going to look something like the Cahir road. It's going to look something like the road going into Cahir. You know, I mean...
But there are opportunities here that if there's a new route built,
yes,
and then you're going to have a lot of what we will call the old road that perhaps can be made more attractive for walking and cycling because it won't have the heavy volume of traffic.
No, sorry, I think the only reason why, the only justification I see why they have incorporated the existing road. To incorporate the existing road is far more expensive, you know, than building across fields, right? It'll eliminate hundreds of houses being demolished, right? You know, it will actually eliminate accidents and fatalities and serious injuries on the local roads where traffic will be diverted onto. You know, so and I see the only reason why they decide to keep on the existing road is because they wanted to say a certain percentage was on the existing road. I mean, there's no virtue in keeping and building on an existing road, right? Where there's so many negatives, right, which haven't been thought out at all. Now, even a neighbour of mine last night, I was speaking to him, and he was actually told by the liaison officer that it is a computer that's going to design the new road. Do you know?
But that isn't really true. We're not ruled by robots yet, surely.
No, I don't think so.
But I think their point about using some of the existing road was that was part of this. They had mentioned in the document they have a hierarchy of where possible use the existing and then where necessary build the new, so that was how they were going to approach it.
Yeah, but is there sense in doing something, right? You know, that makes absolutely no sense, right? I mean, as I said to them, right, whoever made the decision and whoever is responsible, will they answer, right, and talk to the families when there are fatalities and when there are serious injuries, right? I mean, someone has to be responsible and say, right?
And these concerns you have about safety and injuries are during construction works because of tailbacks and because of traffic being diverted to other routes.
Yes.
But look at the communities that have the trucks going through them at the moment. Monard, they'll be bypassed. They'll be a much safer place once this is put in place. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, because they have a bypass there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will, yeah, because they've actually designed a bypass.
So do they have to break some eggs to make this omelette?
No, but sorry, but they're bypassing those communities,
yes,
right? No, but they don't have to create unnecessary risks and hazards, right? Right, to build a new road. As I said, if they build it off the line of the existing road, all this would be eliminated, right? And
but does that take more people's property then? Is it a good idea to try to use less of new stuff, new land?
Oh no, sorry. The existing road is too narrow. So regardless, they're going to end up taking land at both sides of the existing road, right? They're going to demolish houses, right, at both sides of the existing road, right? That'll have a much major impact than going through a farmer's land, right? And really with a farm, okay, they might cut the farmer's land, right, in two, right? But they'll put in underpasses, right? I mean, the impact of that is far less than demolishing houses and homes, right, of people.
Can I just bring in Mary here on this point? Because we were having a chat before the programme on housing. If the people's houses are taken to build the road and we say there's a greater good by having this new road, the people are paid for that and compensation. But in our current situation, you're very concerned they won't even be able to find an alternative.
No, because we'll say with all the immigrants, and I have no problem with people coming into this country, but the point is there aren't enough houses. There aren't enough sites available. So what are they going to do? Just sort of toss a cheque at a person and say, right, you know, there you go. Where are they going to go to? They'll have to uproot their families. They'll have to leave their friends, maybe. They should have an alternative in place before they start introducing stuff like that.
And what kind of alternative could there be?
I don't know. This is what I'm saying, that if they have a meeting with people, don't just sort of land a letter in their door and say, yeah, we might be knocking your house, you know. Talk to people. Get ideas from people. I am positive that there would be plenty of suggestions put forward that would be way more acceptable than what they're doing at the minute.
But the suggestion can only be that the person buy or build a house somewhere else. Surely that's the only alternative the person has if the sale is going ahead. And they would have some year's notice to try to do that.
Yes, but are they paying them up front?
This is a good question.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's an awful lot of questions that we have no answers to, and there's nobody there to answer them by the looks of it. And if they're going to go through, we'll say like they did the last time when the Davitt Street road was being sorted out, they're coming up through 5 schools. 3 of them are secondary, right? Or sorry, 3 of them are primary, 2 of them are secondary. So that means you have children as young as possibly 4 years of age coming and going. If any of them came through Tipperary Town on a Friday, the traffic is absolutely manic. You can't get in or out of a street. You can't park, you can't pull in, you can't stop. There's nothing. It's way too crazy.
But isn't this the solution to that problem?
The solution would be if they had done what we've been looking for years and years as a bypass for Tip Town, and bypass it around in a safe way, without throwing people out of their houses, without sort of saying, right, go away and find someplace else to live. Where are they going to find someplace else to live? It's not as simple as just saying it.
It's not as simple as just saying it, but if people want a bypass built, that has to be put somewhere, and it would surely be impossible in 2022 to build a bypass that wouldn't impact somebody's property.
It could impact some, but the point is, if they will talk to people, they would see maybe there's somebody who wouldn't mind moving.
Okay.
But they need to talk to people. They can't just ride roughshod over them.
But I don't think, in fairness, they're riding roughshod, because they've invited people to come as soon as they had the routes. They've putting the routes out, all the possible routes they were thinking of last year, to let people be aware this might happen. Then they narrowed it down, and now it'll gradually be narrowed down even further. This present proposal is 300 metres wide. The road they'll be building will be less than that, but at the moment they're saying if you're in that 300 metres, it could impact you quite strongly.
But we say Amanda now, for instance, got her letter in. But she hasn't been given any alternatives. She hasn't been given any of the suggestions. Do you know what I mean? So what is she going to do? This is her home. This is where she reared her family.
And there's no money that could compensate you, yes, if you had to leave your house.
Yeah. But in fairness, compensating people with money, yeah, if they want to move, that's fine. If they don't want to move, they have to talk to people.
But you seem to be suggesting they're not talking, and in fairness to them, they're not here. I have asked Arab to come on. I spoke to David yesterday. I have asked Arab, as the road designers, to come on as soon as we kind of get it set up, to maybe do some question and answer sessions where there's not a discussion, but more factual information can be put out there. But I think they have made efforts to make themselves available. They've been encouraging people to make appointments. They can't come knocking on your door and tell you. They have to invite the person to come and talk to them, and I think they have done that, in fairness to them.
Yes, but I think a public meeting would be completely in order there. I know when the Davitt Street work was being done, I was one of the group that went in and spoke to people, and we had some people there. We had all the county council. It was in the county council offices, okay, and we spoke to people there, and we told them that we were speaking on behalf of people who had come to us with their concerns, and the agreement on that night was that they would postpone the start of the works for 2 weeks to try and iron out some of these problems and issues and try and get answers for people. And lo and behold, the following morning, first thing, half of the road was dug up before people even got moving to go for school runs and everything. So they don't listen. And then you will find that the council are blaming the TII are blaming the council. They should both be in there together, and both of them answering to let people know what exactly the plan is, ask for suggestions, talk to people, and get around it that way.
Okay, I think in fairness to them, they are doing that. A listener texts in that David is absolutely right. The only solution from a safety and cost economic angle is to build the road through farmland. But of course, that is impacting somebody else who might say, no, that doesn't suit me. So would you accept that it's going to be hard for a road designer to please everybody?
Oh, no, yes, but I mean, the aim should be, right, to find the safest and most acceptable solution with the least number of homes demolished, right? And the other issue, right, I mean, is to identify the key players in this. And the key player is actually, from a health and safety point of view, his title is the project supervisor for the design process. I mean, he's the one who should take account of all the health, safety and risks associated with the job, right? And he's the one that should actually be answering questions, not a liaison officer, because usually a liaison officer doesn't have technical knowledge. They're really only talkers, right? You know, and the main people will hide behind him, right? You know, and I mean, the liaison officer, again, is a foreigner. I mean, what I'm actually saying, I'm not been disparaging him, but I mean, has he any local knowledge, right? Has he any experience of these road jobs, right? I mean, these are key elements, right? You don't want someone that's only learning on the job.
Okay, but I doubt if the gentleman is learning on the job, but you know, you're making that point that he may not know local knows, but if I have a really experienced engineer that grew up in Cork and lived in Cork and qualified and did loads of projects and then joins TII and gets sent to Donegal to do a road, he won't have local knowledge, but his skills and his experience allow him to look at the maps, the data, the information that's there to make his decisions, surely, or her decisions.
Okay, I'll tell you, I asked one of the engineers at Ballykistine, right, what's going to happen with the bit and bridle? And their response was to me, what is the bit and bridle? That's why our local knowledge comes into play, right? I mean, I have local knowledge because I'm local and I would have walked a lot of the route, you know, and I'm familiar with the people and I'm familiar, right, with what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, right? You know.
But after you told them what the bit and bridle is, did they then give you an answer?
No, there was no, and they did not record any of the queries. And with these processes, right, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to log the concerns of the people and address them, you know. But they didn't log anything, you know.
But this isn't a formal planning process at this stage. It was a public display of it.
Yeah, but the problem is for them, from their own point of view, right, because see, a lot of people, right, on the route, right, they can't read drawings, right. And
yes.
There's an awful lot of people. Yes. I mean, there's a lot and then they produce these drawings. I was looking at the drawing, right, and the drawing they actually did was they had a nice satellite images, right, and they superimposed a brown band, right, which was virtually almost non-transparent. So I could barely make out where the bit and bridle was within the band. Do you follow me? And a lot of people, I mean, they have just been led to believe that their house won't be affected, right? You know, because, I mean, they won't admit they can't read drawings or they can't visualise drawings, right? I mean, that is a failing, right? You know.
So you're saying the citizen can't properly read the map, so they're not able to be properly informed.
That's right.
Okay, but again, I think they made the point that the band, that brown band they put on the map, is 300 metres wide of a territory.
Oh, yeah.
And it remains to be seen where exactly the road will go within that. I think what they have, though, planned is that they would be going south. They'll be bypassing the Limerick Junction south and going behind the bit and bridle. So I think that's not going to be hurt directly.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, if what will happen is the existing junction from the Limerick Junction out onto the existing road is very dangerous. And even looking at it, right, there is a need for a roundabout, you know, right, to make it safe.
To exit where?
The Limerick Junction itself.
To go from where to where?
If you're going to Tipperary Town or you're going back to Limerick, you know, and you're coming out from the Limerick Junction, right? To actually to come out from the Limerick Junction and take a right back towards Monard, right? At the moment is dangerous, right? And really the only solution is a big roundabout. And if you have a roundabout, right, it'll take away the bit and bridle, right? No, it will.
But again, this is what does the developer do there? You would like a roundabout to make it safer, but that has to take land from either side of the road to make the roundabout.
No, what I'm actually saying, first of all, they should move the main road back into the fields away from the existing road, right?
Okay.
And give them flexibility. Then what they can do is they can use the existing road, as is the case over in Cashel and everywhere, as a service road, right? So traffic can, you have reduced volumes of traffic on it, right? And the other thing is, even if the bit and bridle and all those businesses along there, right, they don't realise that all their access from the road, proposed road, will be blocked. Because what they do generally is all those businesses still have slip roads up to the nearest interchange, you know, because they won't allow traffic to cut across a new road into a business.
A new road may be what they call the protected road, so there'll be no exits on and off it, so that traffic just flows along, and only where you have an exit point you can get off there, but there won't be entrances to properties and businesses along that road. Could I just bring in one of our other guests here, William Slattery? You were also concerned about what might happen during the construction works.
Yeah, my main concern would be that if they're going to interfere with the N24 and block it, and the traffic has to go someplace. Now, how there are talks that it might go to local roads and they'll utilise those, but I mean, at the moment, anything that's coming in through the old road into Tipperary, it's just chaotic as it stands. Now, I'd hate to think that there was going to be Arctics or school buses. The school bus is already on it, but I mean, it's going to get busier once you start the through traffic. The route itself is much similar to a bypass as it stands, because you've all traffic from Capawhite, Denohill, Dundrum, Cashel. They're all avoiding the town and they're coming down the back road out by the Lake Road. So where that would lead us would be that the residents on that road can't even come out their own gates.
Yeah, because now, you think the volume of traffic will build up so much.
Traffic, but it's only last week there was an accident, a pretty bad accident on that road, and there's been a lot of little skirmishes that people are able to avoid taking wing mirrors. But they just seem to unleash this volume of traffic, and it's been worse since they did David Street, because people have sat-navs and they're able to get diverted into it, and the Arctics are frightening.
So again, that could be something that perhaps the Arctic should be banned from that route, because
they have to go someplace.
But banned from it in a general term. During the construction works, then you're going to have that issue of how to do them. If perhaps the construction work could be done in a way, and I think you raise these concerns with them, it's a valid point that perhaps they could say when they do the roadworks, they will do it at such a pace that part of the road would still be used. They wouldn't be diverting traffic off of it.
Yeah, but what they'll actually do, because I've experience of building roads, right? If you're building if you're doing it like on the Davis Street here, if you were building a road on a road, right, that means you actually have to dig out all the hills and fill all the hollows, right? So you're changing the whole alignment of it. And what they do is they generally dig out half the road, right, and rebuild half the road and cut the traffic down to a shuttle system, right, where you'd have traffic lights at both ends and it'd be stop and go, and so you'd end up with big tailbacks back into the town, right, and at the other side, coming out from Limerick, there'd be major sort of tailbacks, right? And as I said, regardless of official diversions, right, what will traffic do? They'll know to use the rat runs, which are all the local roads, right? I mean, I know myself, right? Even now, when I come out, right, of my house, right, I actually roll down the two windows as defensive driving, right, and I look left and I look right, and you'd be out on the road next to there be a car up behind you. Do you follow me?
Yes, absolutely.
Hooting the horn.
Yes. What? But again, that's of course what their dilemma is here in trying to replace the N24, because all along it, anybody trying to come out of their house or business, it's so difficult because of the volume and the constancy of traffic.
But I think what would help, if they didn't break up the N24, allow traffic continue and build a new road parallel with that road. And
David, I'm going to take some text messages now. The name of your Facebook group if people wanted to join?
All right. The main thing, go into Facebook itself, right, and it's called the new N24 road between Cahir and Pallasgreen. Monitor group. Okay, so it's a new N24 between Cahir and Pallasgreen monitor group. Yeah. Listeners, that's the name of the Facebook page. And there are people who are answering questions there and getting information. We will, we have asked our consultants to come on the programme. Possibly we may get somebody from the Midwest Roads Design Office as well. And whatever can be settled as a fact will be helpful for listeners to know, because as we air issues, people might have concerns and we don't want to cause any alarm. But there certainly are people who have real difficulty here in terms of the construction of this road. Just some messages from listeners. Catherine, my understanding is that any family affected have the opportunity to have meetings with planners to discuss same and their concerns. Another listener, is Catherine a PR officer for the council? It sounds like that. Listener, I'm just trying to bring some balance to the conversation here. The council aren't here and we have 4 guests here airing their views, so I think people are getting a fair opportunity to raise their concerns. Another text from that listener, a farmer won't lose his farm because of the building the bypass. They will lose some land and will be well paid for it. A homeowner will lose their house and have a serious challenge to replace it. And I think everybody accepts that point that in Ireland. And that's our text in from a listener. There's another text I have received from a listener. Your number ends 248. I'm not going to read it out, but I don't think it's meant for one of our guests here. Listen, we'll just take a break and then we'll be back to our guests here from the Monitor Group on the N24 project in just a moment.
Keeping you close to the heart of your community. This is Morning Call with Catherine Fogarty on Tip Midwest Radio.
We're working for you at your local credit union.
Morning Call is brought to you by your local credit union.
And welcome back, listeners. We're having a discussion here with a group who are known as the N24 New Road Monitor Group from Cahir to Pallasgreen. I just want to raise concerns that they have about the announcement of the proposed preferred transport solution and what will happen next and the impact that it has on communities. If people's homes are going to be taken for this, and also if there are construction works to be done, then the impact that that's going to have on road safety, on other roads that the traffic gets diverted onto. David also has concerns about the route that's taken, perhaps an old dump being used as part of the construction process. So it's a lot of different concerns they have. If they're based out in the Monard area, but their Facebook group is called N24 Road between Cahir and Pallasgreen Monitor Group, and it's just an opportunity here to have discussion and raise awareness of that. David, what will your group take any further action now? What do you plan to do?
No, as I said, we're only set up for the last 5 days. We have 200 members at the moment, which have shown a lot of interest, right? And as a group, what we want to do is give a platform where people can actually have their say, and that's because, there's a lot of people, right, on that route, right, they don't know what Facebook is. And I know myself, even my wife isn't on Facebook. My children who are growing up aren't on Facebook. There's not a lot of people not on Facebook, right, and at least their children, right, can now have a platform and I'd like to get the politicians right who involved, right, and to do something for us, right, because this is a major issue, right, and again a lot of them are just kicking to touch in the whole issue.
And as you say, you're in favour of a road being built,
yes,
but you want it properly managed in terms of where it's put, that it's not put on the existing road,
yes,
all the traffic and environmental
yes,
issues and safety issues being addressed as well.
Yeah, and not to have it that's going to impact on half the residents of the town. Like Rossmore Village, recently a big development. Half the residents down there have been told that they could lose their house. No, I
don't think that's accurate. I thought it was just people were concerned it was going to go between Tipperary Town and Rossmore Village.
No. Half the residents in Rossmore Village have received letters, right? And see, what I want is, if people know there is a social media platform, they can have their say, right? And I think really what has to happen with the council, and I said it even out at Limerick Junction, there should be a question and answer session, right, where there would be politicians and there would be journalists involved, right, who could record what's actually been said. Because a one-to-one, when there's no notes taken, right, and none of the concerns are logged, that doesn't serve any purpose, right? And the big issue, right, even from a taxpayer's point of view, is there's no point they spending 2 years developing something and then everyone starts objecting to the planning permission, right? This is the time to sort the issues out, right? And to be truthful and straightforward and candid as to what's going to happen and the impact it's going to have. And not to be telling people it's not going to affect them. It is going to affect anyone.
But David, you're kind of contradicting yourself. If you're saying they're sending people letters, they're going to lose their home, and at the same time you're saying they're telling people it's not going to affect them. Can't be accurate.
No, but that's what, I'm not contradicting myself. The council is contradicting themselves because that's what they're actually saying.
But have you seen that people got letters saying they're going to lose their home? Isn't that being as warning as they can be?
Oh no, but then those people go out to meet them and talk to them, right? And then they're told that a computer is going to design it and they're going to weave the road away from all their homes, right? And it won't affect them.
And again, I would accept that point to you that I don't think a computer design, but do you accept that what they're saying, the route at the moment is 300 metres wide and the road won't be that wide, but they're letting people know within that 300 metres they're potentially going to be impacted.
But see, the problem is anyone within that corridor at the moment, right, they are sterile. That's the term they use. That means they cannot apply for planning permission. They cannot sell their houses because no mortgage company will give a potential buyer, right? So all those people, and then those people are suffering. They're sleepless nights. What I'm saying, actually, the council were very premature. They should have actually developed it further and reduced. They can see how houses are going to be affected. So let them come up with a definite, a schematic scheme, right, to limit the width of the corridor so people can actually see, right? But see, again, it's not only as I said, the main issue too is entrances. A lot of houses might be off the new road, right? But they won't be allowed access onto the new road, right?
Yes.
So in effect, they'll have to move.
But they'll have they'll have their existing exit point onto the existing road?
No, so onto the new road.
Yes,
right?
They won't allow. Yes, that's true.
The
new road will be built in that way for safety reasons, though, not to have people have access onto it.
I agree with that. You can't have exits right into houses and into farmland and into farms and into businesses, right, off the existing road.
Yes.
That's not going to happen, right?
Correct. Yes.
And they're not pointing that out. That's a major issue.
Well, a person did tell me that out there at the event. I didn't even ask him the question. He just said it will be a protected road, so you won't have as many exits and access points off it for that reason, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Listeners, we will, I'm sure, be talking about this again. The council are having ongoing meetings, or the designers are having ongoing meetings with people. They're going to put the plans on display in the council office, paper plans in Tipperary Town until the 17th of June in Capamore Library and also in Cahir Library, because of course it goes all the way over to Cahir. Yes. There's so many people that are going to be affected by that, and what I think we as the radio station can do is give people an opportunity to raise their concerns, but so much is undecided as well at this stage. So some people are going to be facing problems, difficulty and an unhappy situation. Other people will be not affected by this and will be relieved by how it will develop. So over the coming weeks, I'm sure we'll have more guests and people on to speak about the project. But I thank you for coming in today. Was there anything else you just wanted to say to wrap up?
Oh, sorry. The Facebook group page, can you put it up on your Facebook page?
I'm not sure if we can, but that's a question we can ask the...
Just put it up as a post.
Yes, he may be able to do that, yes.
Right. And another issue, as I said to you earlier, if we could have a link to the recording of this interview,
yes,
so people that are not listening at the moment will listen.
Yes, the programme goes out on a podcast later on. It goes up on the website, and I can cut out the link for you. It'll take me maybe a day or two, but I'll cut out the link for you and send it. So you'll have just this segment as well if you wish to have that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting us.
That was David Maloney. We're also joined by Mary Staunton, Amanda Wade and David Slattery on the N24. And as David says, their Facebook group page is known as N24 Road between Cahir and Pallasgreen Monitor Group, if you'd like to follow the discussion on that Facebook page. And we will let you know if we're having the designers on or members of our consultants who may be able to provide further clarity at this stage of the process. But it hasn't gone to a planning application stage, and I accept your point. Very good. Perhaps amendments could be made at this stage before the formal planning process begins that might give more people reassurance about the project. Listeners, we're just going to take a break and then we'll have our final guest for today.